keys for the CRT and then yours.
Welcome to the Prince Edward County Conference Line. Please stand by. You'll be joined in shortly.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Prince Edward County Board of Supervisors meeting, January 14th, 2025, and Happy New Year to you all. At this time, we'll call the board meeting to order. We will ask for invocation by Mr. Jerry Townsend and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Let us pray. Oh Lord, we thank you for this day. Thank you for last night's sleep, this morning rising. Thank you for our health and strength. Thank you for giving us knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Lord, thank you for bringing us through the year 2024, allowing us to be the first meeting of the year 2025 as we conduct business. We actually continue to bless all the board members and just continue to give us the knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding to make good, sound decisions to move the county of Prince Edward in a positive, forward direction. Lord, we actually bless all the members, citizens here tonight. Bless those that are online. And Lord, we ask you that you can be with the bereaved families tonight and pick them up where they're down and wrap your loving arms around them. Heal the sick from the crown of their head to the sole of their feet. You know you're God, and with you we can do all things. Without you we can do nothing. But Lord, when we come to the end of this old dusty road, we just want to see that face. Give us a home somewhere in thy kingdom where the streets are paved with gold and there's many, many mansions. Continue to allow the words from our mouth and the meditation of our hearts always be pleasing in thy sight. This is your servant's prayer in thy most holy and precious name. And we all said, Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so very much. And at this time, does any board member have a conflict of interest with anything that we're discussing tonight? Seeing none, we will continue on to the election of the chair. Mr. Stanley?
Madam Chair, in your proposed bylaws, which are in your packet, the bylaws were updated with the revised and proposed order of secession for the chair position based on the change we made last year. The 201 district representative would be chair for the coming year.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to elect District Member 201 to be the chair for a term of 1 year. And that person is Mr. Bill Jenkins. Can I please have a vote?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we do that.
Second.
Thank you, and thank you for the second. Dr. Pride?
Yes.
Mr. Gillum?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Emmert?
Yes.
Mr. Townsend?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Patty Cooper Jones, yes. And you, Mr. Bill Jenkins. Thank you so very much. You are now the
Thanks for going
chair.
along with it.
All right, and at this time, we're gonna change seats so you can get your honorary spot.
Candy doesn't go with the spot.
I was gonna say, there's a candy train. Convey with the job.
It travels with it.
Hey, good job.
Thank you, sir.
Well done.
Appreciate it.
Very much appreciated.
Congratulations. Thank you, sir.
I started to say that I don't know about that. I figured I'd keep my mouth. See what he said.
There we go. Turn the height there, get a minute. So I think we are go ahead and have the election for vice chair.
Mr. Chair, based on our new order, Mr. Harrison Jones, District 101, would be the candidate for the vice chair position.
I move that we proceed with that.
Second.
Stay with that. Right?
You gotta vote
You
on
got
We gotta vote on,
you got a
okay.
motion and a second, Mr. Chair.
Do we have a motion on that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
it. In a second.
Okay. All right. This right here. Okay, Supervisor Emmett,
Yes.
Supervisor Townsend,
Yes.
Supervisor Harrison Jones,
Yes.
Supervisor Cooper Jones,
Yes.
Supervisor Watson,
Yes.
Supervisor Pride,
Yes.
Supervisor Emmett, I mean, not Yellow.
Yellow?
Y'all got me
Yes.
nervous up here now.
You'll be fine, you'll be fine, Bill.
You got me nervous.
You'll be fine.
But we gonna hang in there.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay, so,
Switch seats.
switch seats now.
Sweet seats.
Away we go. So that's the vice chair seat?
We got a couple of them, yes.
Mr. Chairman, while they're switching places, I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we continue the time and day of our regular meetings as status quo.
I'll second that. Welcome to the neighborhood.
All right.
Mr. Chair, you have a motion from Mr. Emmert, a second by Mr. Watson to continue with our same date, time, and place of regular meetings.
Okay, do we vote on that?
Yep.
Okay, okay. Mr. Emmett,
Yes.
Supervisor Townsend,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Pratt, Dr. Pratt,
Yes.
and Mr. Gillum,
Yes.
and Jenkins, yes. Okay. Now we got Dr. the bylaws. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Can we lump 8 and 9 together since they are selection of operation?
I'm fine.
Is that all right with everyone?
I'll second that.
All right.
All right, so you got the motion, Jerry?
Yeah. Okay, we got a vote on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Gillum,
Yes.
Dr. Pratt,
Yes.
Supervisor Watson,
Yes.
Supervisor Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper Jones,
Yes.
Supervisor Townsend,
Yes.
Supervisor Emmett,
Yes.
and Supervisor Jenkins, yes. Committee appointments, I understand we have one, Mr. Emmett, would like not to do this time around. And, I would like to have that one if nobody objects.
That's actually that'll be for outside agency, is that right, Doug?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll get to that in just a minute, and I'll make that motion, Bill. Committee appointments, which I guess is gonna be the board committees.
Yes, sir. There's
We have a
a
copy of these.
copy on your dais. The only change that we have in there is for the audit committee. Typically, we've had 3 members. We have added the vice chair for continuity standpoint. So you will have 4 members on your committee, which is still less than the majority of the board, so it still meets as a committee. So that would be Ms. Cooper Jones, Vice Chairman Jones, the chair, and Ken Watson, Supervisor Watson. All the others would remain the same as in 2024.
Harrison won't mark on this one, but you want to mark?
It's on, that's the 24. There's another one.
There's no one there
Yeah,
somewhere.
there's another one.
I move that we accept the committee appointments.
Jerry, if you would, if there are no other additions or deletions, let's go 10, 11, 12, and 13. There's nothing else that's out of status quo, is it? Will you make the motion for that, Jerry?
10, 11, 12, and 13.
Yeah, which goes through the adoption of
Public.
protocol.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I'll
So
second,
moved.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a vote on that.
Thank you.
Supervisor Emmett,
Yes.
Supervisor Townsend,
Yes.
Mr. Cooper Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Dr. Price,
Yes.
Supervisor Gold,
Yes.
and Supervisor Jenkins, yes. At this time, we have recognition.
Mr. Chair, if you would join me down here. Oh, Cheryl's coming out.
Recognitions is an opportunity for the Board of Supervisors to recognize achievements in our community with focus on the accomplishments of students, employees, and our citizen volunteers who serve the county of Prince Edward. The board would like to recognize Deputy Animal Control Officer Ariel Whitmer as our January Employee of the Month. Chief Animal Control Officer Adam Numa stated, Ariel's compassion and desire to help all the animals and the citizens in Prince Edward County is inspiring and moving. Ariel often works under extreme stress and in frustrating situations, yet she remains composed and professional. The Animal Control Department would not be what it is today without Ariel's dedication, drive, and passion for the job. We thank Deputy Animal Control Officer Whitmer for her hard work and dedication, and are fortunate to have someone of her caliber in our community.
Yes.
Chair, please stay down here. I'd like to ask Ms. Patty Cooper Jones to come down real quick. Y'all can stand right there.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So, Mr. Jones is coming down. 2024 was a very busy and eventful year for Prince Edward County and the Board of Supervisors. I just want to hit on a few things during Patty's year as chair. In March, the board approved participation in the Southside Virginia ASAP program. The board approved the intergovernmental service agreement with the Department of Homeland Security for the operation of the ICA facility, which is going to generate a significant amount of revenue for Prince Edward County, along with, I'd say, additional tightened strings on the facility and how it operates in our community. The board approved Prince Edward County Public Schools County Partnership providing student interns both at our cannery and the animal shelter. Approved a memorandum of agreement with the Central Virginia Drug Court. That drug court should be starting up here in the next couple months. On a planning and development side, the board approved a resolution to share the Board of Building Code appeals with Cumberland County. Board approved a special use permits for a number of solar projects in the community. Board approved a contract for construction and then later completed construction of Cell F at the landfill. The board approved the lease purchase agreement of our new public safety radio system that will serve not only Prince Edward County, the town of Farmville, but Longwood and Hampton-Sydney as well. The board approved a contract for our website upgrade, which will be completed here in the next couple months. Board approved the purchase of a new tractor for the General Services Department. The board approved a contract to clean all the air ducts here at the courthouse. The board approved special use permit for an elevated water storage tank that will serve the HIP Park. The board approved Phase 1 of the wayfinding signage program that will be hopefully completed as far as the design installation later this year. The board approved the agreement of the establishment of the Virginia's Heartland Regional Economic Development Alliance, in which we're partnering with Buckingham, Charlotte, Cumberland, Lunenburg, and Nottawake counties. The board opened completed, will open this week, the Visitor Center upgrade. We finalized our county tourism marketing plan, and we had our enterprise zone renewed through the year 2033. And lastly, the board was able to approve and receive over $3.4 million in grant revenue back to the community. The other thing we did was we completed our 2024 annual report to our citizens on activities that have been undertaken. So lots of good things have happened, and Jared, here's the plaque, 2%.
Congratulations, Patty.
I'd just like to say it is truly an honor to stand before you, and it has been my pleasure to work with this board. I think they're a great board, all of us made a lot of accomplishments together, and I want to pray and ask God to continue to bless us and let us continue to be progressive and make Prince Edward County the best county in all of the state of Virginia. Thank you. And I'd like to say before I go, I'd like to say thank you to Chelsea White. She does an amazing job with economic development here, and she did get a great presentation yesterday at the Woodlands, and I was honored to be there to support her. Thank you very much.
Okay, at this time we do the public participation.
Mr. Chair, no one has signed up on the sign-in sheet.
Okay, so we pass on by that. Board Supervisor comment. Please start, Mr. Gillum.
Nice to see you all tonight. Hope and pray you all will be fine in this cold weather that's coming, and be careful in your travels. Nice to see you all. Thank you.
Dr. Pratt?
Good evening, everyone. We thank you for your presence. And I would like to take this opportunity to personally congratulate Ms. Patty Cooper Jones, who did an excellent job as board chair this year. Thank you so much, Patty.
Thank you, ma'am.
And thank you for such a board that worked so well together in 2024. And we hope to get even stronger through the upcoming year. Thank you so much.
Okay, Supervisor Watson?
Thank you. I'd like to also pass on my congrats to the outgoing chair. She did a great job and was easily approachable, well-organized, good leader. We really appreciate it. Thanks for attending, everyone. Happy New Year, and look forward to a good 2025.
Vice Chair, Mr. Brown?
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Thank you for being here. Ms. Cooper Jones, thank you for your service to Prince Edward County. We
you,
appreciate
sir.
it. I want to thank the board for the opportunity to serve as vice chair for this upcoming year, for the opportunity and the experience that this is I'm excited for it. I thank you for it.
Great.
Look forward to continuing to work with each one of you.
Thank you.
Mr. Cooper Jones?
I'd just like to say thank you again and look forward to working with everyone. And please be careful. The weather may not appear to be treacherous, but you will hit some spots that are really slick. So please be careful and watch out for the deer as well. Thank you.
Supervisor Townsend?
Thank you for being here, as always, being supportive of the board. I also want to thank Supervisor Patty Cooper Jones for her excellent leadership as chairwoman, and certainly look forward to working with Chairman Jenkins and Vice Chair Jones for the year 2025. I just echo again, I think we have a good makeup, good board. They're always putting Prince Edward, what's best for the county, the citizens of the county first. Don't always agree, but we all have trying to achieve that same common goal. And that's what's best for the citizens.
Supervisor Emmett?
Thank each and every one of you for being here. As you all know, this is your time to kind of keep us accountable, and we appreciate that. Thank you for showing up, Ariel. Thank you for your job. Well done. I guess of all the board, I get to deal with you more than anyone else and appreciate what you've done. Patty, you know how I feel about you. Thank you very much for being here, for the job that you have done. And I'm like Jerry, I'm glad that this board is what it is, and let's continue on.
And I'd like to say thank everyone, and Mr. Cooper Jones, you're a wonderful person,
Thank you, sir.
wonderful person. Okay, and we'll move on now to the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to be approved as presented unless there's questions or comments from the board.
I'll second.
Okay, we have first and second on the consent agenda. Can we have a vote on that? Supervisor Emmett,
Yes.
Supervisor Townsend,
Yes.
Supervisor Cooper Jones,
Yes.
Vice Chair Jones,
Yes.
Supervisor Watson,
Yes.
Dr. Pride,
Yes.
Supervisor Gillum,
Yes.
and Supervisor Jenkins says yes. We'll move on now to the FY 24 audit.
Mr. Chair, unfortunately, RFC, our auditors, we had some last-minute information come in last week. They were not able to get the audit complete. We will be in touch to set up an audit committee. I'm hoping we'll have an audit committee meeting in the next week or so prior to the end of January, so we can go ahead and get our audit into DEQ and then have it on our February agenda probably for formal acceptance.
Okay, thank you. And see, we move on now to highway now. Mr. Sheriff Puckett. You fast.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Scott Frederick is in Cumberland this evening. He'll be in Prince Edward starting in February and every other month for the for the year 2025. So I'm happy to take any highway matters or maintenance issues you may have, and we will report them out to VDOT.
Ms. Bucket, the only comment I would like to make, thanks for the scraping of the roads. They did it in a timely fashion. They need to get as close to the edge as they possibly can, because what's happening, that is refrozen, and if you're not watching carefully, you'll be out the road. We seem to have had more snow in our area, so it's very important that they try to get as much to the edge as they possibly can.
Can you give me an example of a road, Dr. Pryor, because I know they use
Bloomfield.
contractors, so it may help them if they've got a contractor that they need to speak
Carter
with.
Road.
Carter, okay.
Road is probably one of the worst ones.
Okay, I'll pass that along
Sure.
to Scott.
Thank you.
I just want to echo with Dr. Pride. I think VDOT was very proactive this year in doing this inclement weather. And that's the type performance you want to see out in front of the weather. And I still want Scott, I still want to stay on those mile markers. I'm looking for that. He's supposed to do the research, come back with the price, because I think that's going to be a tremendous asset to the citizens in the county.
That's
down
for
the road.
360?
Yeah, 360, 460. I think mile markers just make sense. It can get people, give you a quick identifier where you can get there, and it could be a lifesaver down the road. I think, I want to stay on that, and I want to see if the board can do, I know we'll have to do it through attrition, maybe, but I think that need to be a priority.
And I have a couple, Gully Tavern Road, the long hill on both ways on Gully Tavern. It could have been maybe adjusted a little bit, maybe more serious, maybe. And, Monroe Church Road, there's a couple of trees kind of leaning over the road. Yeah, in a bad way there. And Rice Depot Road, both the hills there, could have had a little more, something on them, you know. But they did a good job on the big roads and all. Cars were flying.
Yeah, Gully Tavern Road, Route
That was pretty
600
bad.
is, you know, it's a very busy road. It's a narrow, curvy road, and, you know, if you tried to access it from 460, you know, it was, you couldn't get down and get back up. And if I went down 307 and accessed it from that way, the only difference was that was a flatter way, but, you know, it had not been cleared very well.
The 460 end of Gully Tavern was
Both
not,
ends.
oh, both ends.
Yeah. And it's a high traffic road.
Is that everyone?
All right. Okay. Right. So now we're gonna go ahead to the public hearing, we've done that.
Mr. Chairman, we've got two public hearings this evening. Mr. Love will get to introduce both. The first one is pursuant to Virginia Code Section 15.2, 2239, to receive public comment on the proposed fiscal year 2025, 2027 capital improvement plan. Mr. Love? We got to wait 4 minutes? All right.
Okay.
If y'all would like, we can slip on down, Mr. Chair, to appointment to outside agencies. It's on page 109.
Mr. Chairman, the following positions require appointment or reappointment. So the Piedmont Regional Jail Authority, currently Supervisor Emmert and Mr. Stanley hold the board position and the citizen position. They're both eligible for reappointment to a 4-year term as noted. Do you want to do them in a block? Would you prefer, I can just read all of them and can do them as a block? Okay. The Workforce Development Consortium, that is an appointment either for the board chair or his or her designee. Dr. Pride has held that position. I think this may be Dr. Pride's 4th year on the Workforce Development Consortium as the county's designee, and she is eligible for reappointment. The Moton Museum Board likewise is a 1-year term. Supervisor Townsend has served on that board for the Board of Supervisors for several years and is eligible for reappointment. The Prince Edward Volunteer Rescue Squad and Piedmont Court Services, Karen and I, at the end of every year, go through all of the appointments of the citizens and the board and try and make sure that we've got everything organized. And we noted that both of these that Supervisor Emmert ironically served on, he had been appointed, but to kind of a never-ending term. And so I reached out to Supervisor Emmert and asked him if he felt that maybe making this an appointment for a specific set term was a good idea, and he concurred. So for the Prince Edward Volunteer Rescue Squad, he originally, I'm going to say, volunteered appointed in January of 2019 with no set term. So we would suggest, staff would suggest, we said 4, but it's at the board's, because you make these appointments, so you can make it 4, you can make it 8, you can tell David he has to serve in perpetuity. But it's, we said 4, that's a kind of a standard, so that's what we've presented to you tonight. And the same with Piedmont Court Services. David was appointed in March of 2018 with no set term, and the board action tonight would establish a 4-year term. Mr. Emmert is eligible for reappointment to both of these, and I guess as everyone is, if you so choose. So if you so choose to not,
Yeah, Sarah, on the Piedmont Court Services, since I have served as long as I have, Bill, I think that was the one that you and I talked about. If you would be interested in serving on that, I certainly would be glad to come off of that.
Okay. Does anyone have something to say on that? Is that good?
That's
Good.
That's good.
And then I would also like from the start with the 4-year term,
Yeah.
if that's all right with the board.
so, if the board wants to make a note that the slate of positions you will vote on substitute Supervisor Jenkins for Supervisor Emmert under Piedmont Court Services.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, let's have a vote on this. Supervisor Gillum,
Yes.
Dr. Fry,
Yes.
Supervisor Watts,
Yes.
Supervisor Jones,
Yes.
Supervisor Cooper Jones,
Yes.
Supervisor Townsend,
Yes.
Supervisor Emmett,
Yes.
Supervisor Jenkins, yes. Okay.
And it is now 7:30. Mr. Love, the first public hearing.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, our first public hearing is to consider the fiscal year 2025 to 2027 capital improvements plan. This plan is intended as a guide to assist the Board of Supervisors development of the county budget. The CIP process began with the submission of 14 capital expenditure requests by county departments and associated agencies. The county CIP includes major capital projects that are, number one, non-recurring, and number two, should have a useful life of 5 years or more. The estimated cost of the expenditures must exceed $50,000 for a general government project and $100,000 for a school project. All the figures used represent the best estimated expenditures by the county. Should be noted that this is strictly advisory. Once plans adopted, individual projects may change throughout the course of the year. It's quite possible that a certain project may not be funded during a specific year indicated in the CIP. This public hearing was properly advertised in the Farmville Herald. The Planning Commission held their advisory hearing to seek comments. No one spoke at that public hearing. The commission unanimously recommended approval of the CIP, forwarding it to you all. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have of me, and of course, Mr. Stanley is there to answer any questions specific to the CIP as well.
Thank you, Mr. Love.
Mr. Chair, we need to open the public hearing. Nobody has signed up to speak, but there may be some folks in the audience who
Okay,
would
does
wish.
anyone here like to speak?
You can go ahead and formally get to use your weapon now.
That's right, open round.
Come on, Judge.
Would anyone
Now we're-
have a
now we're
comment?
doing business.
Or like to address an issue or anything?
That's to us,
No, that's too.
to the public, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not here now. So-
Close the public hearing.
So we're moving on. Okay,
Okay, I move that the Board of Supervisors adopt the proposed fiscal year 2025 to 2027 capital improvement plans as outlined.
I got a question, some discussion
Okay.
first.
Go ahead.
All right, that's fine.
I noticed that you got the Public Works, you got two sites, convenience sites,
Where's you and Jerry? That's what I was looking for.
72.
There we go. I'm with you now.
Okay,
You got two convenience sites. You got Worsham this year in 2025, then you got the Tubble one up in 27. 29 now Lee District is one of the very few districts that have two sites because of how geographically, how open it is. Why is that on 29?
I'll say that the reason why we first selected Rice and then Worsham was next and Tuggle was based on volume. Now, of course, Tuggle, we're trying to go look at combining two, so it's the combined utilization of both sites. The plan, the direction of the board and properties committee is we're going to get to all of them. It's just based on utilization.
But if you combine both of mine, it'd probably be more than one of them.
Sarah, what do you think?
Based on, I'm going to say based on based on the truck traffic and based on the volume on the hauling.
But the
rice-
hauling, you based on the volume, because you gonna get more, you got more commercial usage this way.
Well, so
But
the
traffic,
rice.
if you do
the
a traffic count, it may not be.
The Rice, the Prospect, and the Worsham are the three busiest sites. And so the Tuggle site, as Mr. Stanley said, what we're doing with that third project is to consolidate Tuggle and Prospect. So by virtue of that project, we would be eliminating one and consolidating those two in a new location.
I'm fine with that. I'm not, don't hear me wrong. I'm not disagreeing with what you got here. I just wanna know when Versailles and Green Bay gonna be done. That need to be on this, within the next 5 years. Both of those sites are in a dire need for some, upgrades.
What are you hoping for? Because some of us have, visited Worsham, and I feel like, based off of the feedback that I've received regarding the Rice convenience site, I think we could stand to do the necessary renovations for a much smaller price tag than $800,000. I think we need a drain by one of the compactors and fresh gravel. We could go into all kinds of detail with new fencing and signage and lights and cameras and God forbid someone steal our trash. But with all due respect, I think we can trim this project down a lot with all of the funds that we're putting towards the elementary school right now. I'm not comfortable with this price tag.
We also don't have the issue of the creek, like we did in Rice. I would think that would make this project cheaper. I would think that would be a big expense.
One of the things we're trying to do at Worsham, the feedback we've received is people like the ability to be, I'll say, grade separated and be able to, larger items, throw their trash over into the bin. So one of the things we're gonna have to do at Worsham is import, and we've actually got some dirt sitting behind Wawa that's now ours, is import some material to be able to get grade separation, because people, when you have heavy items, it's much harder to, you can't go up and over into the bin. So the way we've got it now and the way the new design is still to have, you'll have a turn through, but you'll have a grade separated turn through on the way back and out of the site.
And I think Supervisor Jones, to your point about all of these projects will still go through the committee process. All of them will still go through the Properties Committee. All of them have to still come back to the Board of Supervisors. All of them have to still go through the design and bid process. So through that process, if the board deems that there should be, for example, gravel-only surface or whatever, those issues can be addressed through the committee process, through the board process, through the design bid, working with the engineers. All of that is ultimately going to be up to the board through your approval process.
But I will add, and the camera's a good question, because we didn't even really see the benefit, but now that we've got them at Rice, we've had people slip and fall. And I'll say in more than one, some instances it was legit where they tripped over, curb or some piece, but others you can tell maybe it wasn't legitimate fall. So unfortunately, those are kind of worth their weight in gold, unfortunately.
The risk
But,
management aspect of it.
being able to have, 30 days of that video to go back and check on is helpful. But, just this last week, being able at Rice, we could get the pavement, everything down to bare pavement, get the snow off. When you have a gravel site, you can't. So we still got slip and fall issues because if you grade all the gravel off, you've lost your gravel. So those are, as Sarah said, those are decisions we can make through the process. But ultimately, the feedback and response has been very supportive of, we like to be able to drive in and not drive through potholes. We like to be able
And I like that. I think that's fine. But look, you got $8.1 million total in the year 27, right? Then you at 28, you got 285,000. Why can't we get lead this? You're going from 8 million to 200-some thousand on a capital project for the total expenditure.
You want us to add you in there, Jerry?
That's my point. That's my point. And I have two convenience sites in Lee District. Not one, two, that's needing upgrade.
You could probably add, and we, on those sites, we're pay-as-you-go. This is money that we've got in the budget on those convenience sites. We're not borrowing money.
Right.
We're using money that's in the budget or that we save and set aside for the project. The other thing is, if we're able, I'll give you an example. If one of the solar projects is proposed down there, money could be earmarked out of the capital money towards one of those, that could help speed up the project. But
Let's put it, why can't we put it tentatively under 29, both sites in Lee District? You got $150,000 expenditures for that year, for CIP. At least we working toward a goal, we got a target.
I think you certainly could pick up, you could at least do one and get it to the level of the others.
Okay, I'll take that.
Would Verso be the more heavily used site, Sarah?
Well, Verso would be.
I think so.
Yeah.
Verso got more
More
traffic
traffic.
than Green Bay.
Yes.
But Green Bay is a smaller site.
Yeah, and some of them, like Prospect, we know we cannot stay at that location. So that's when we started looking at
That's a more expensive site.
the site alternatives. That's why it made sense to consolidate the two sites that are in the Prospect District into one at a
makes
better
sense.
site that would better serve, instead of trying to build something partially here and then and
agree
it
with
also removing that, I'm going to say, vehicular traffic from the entrance of the landfill is also going to be a benefit to the operation of the landfill as it gets busier. We won't have that mix of truck and vehicle, personal citizen vehicle traffic right there at the gate of the landfill.
My
So,
suggestion, and I don't know, maybe some other comments, my suggestion would be table it tonight. We'll come back next month with adding another site in there, adding the Verso site as directed, so that y'all can consider that
Okay.
with the revised numbers.
I'm fine with that.
I went to the Rice convenience site today. It is so good to get out the car and not have to look where your foot's going. I didn't have to skip over a mud puddle, didn't have to walk around on water. I walked over there, threw it right over in the compactor. Said, how you do, lady? She said, good to see you, Miss Jenkins. I got my car there. Wasn't no traffic at the intersection. I'm down here at the way. I mean, people can fuss and grumble, but if you can remember back when you had to jump over the mud puddle, or step around here, or you went to pull out, you had cars blocking you. So I know it's a lot of money, but it's good. If people come here from the city, they like it like it is now. So that's my comment on the Rice convenience site though.
Any other comments, Mr. Gillum?
Yeah, while we're chatting on all this stuff, and I direct this to Robbie, at Worsham, the southeast corner runs downhill into the woods. Runoff is gonna come about before long. So any work done out there, that would need to be addressed. And far as the Prospect, re-entry on the 460 with people running 60 miles an hour is very dangerous. I've been up there several times, and it don't matter if you watch and wait there on top of you before you get up to speed. So that's a safety issue also.
So I have one question.
yes, ma'am.
When do you anticipate the project starting in Worsham?
That would be depending upon the
I
approval
think-
by the board. It's got to go through the properties committee and the bid process.
So we've got the plans drawn, we're waiting on the stormwater permit
Right.
component. I think the project could be ready to bid this spring, so maybe March could put it out.
Thank you.
Just on that project, we're in revision comments now. We've had first submittal on stormwater. We've got some third-party engineer recommend some changes, but I anticipate that'll be probably resolved in probably 60 days.
Sure.
And part of that's not air lead time, it's re-engineering and notes and calculations that have to be done by by our vendor on that.
Okay.
But we're probably inside of that number. I just wanted to give you that's an outside window as far as stormwater approval. I anticipate it'll be sooner than that.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, with the board's permission, so if you notice, most of these departments are ones that fall under, I guess you would say, my chain of command. So I reached out to staff, and Adam was already here. Trey is always here. And I reached out to Randy and Jeff, but they each had, I think those two gentlemen would like to speak for themselves, but I asked Jeff, what did he want the board to know, especially about the scale house? And he asked me to convey to y'all that the current scale house was so cold this morning that the ink in the printer was frozen. And that's where his staff, I mean, that, you know, if you've been to the landfill, the scale house is pretty rustic, I think is a kind way to say it. It's been patched with duct tape and cardboard. Those guys never complain. The floor is only plywood. So Jeff appreciates your support on the replacement of the scale house at the landfill. Randy just wanted you to know that the generator that is being proposed for the courthouse, the one that's currently here, is original to the renovations of the 1997 renovations. He said over the last 2-3 years, he thinks the county's probably spent about $30,000 on controls and repairs. He feels pretty good about it, you know, where it is right now, but we have to remember that that generator kicks in and operates the Prince Edward County Sheriff's Department when we lose power. So it's clearly critical infrastructure. He said while that is a big number, he wanted the board to realize that he has to find a generator that will fit in the footprint of the yard. And so it requires almost a custom generator because it has to sit in that secure yard right there outside of the ground floor. So, Adam, you got a sound bite for the shelter, and then Trey, since y'all are here tonight.
Chairman of the board, other board members. So one of the big things on your fund plan there is new animal shelter. This year alone, we hit our highest number in 10 plus years. I say 10 plus because I didn't want to go through all the paperwork to get the numbers past 10 years ago. We hit 524 dogs, cats that came through our building this year. That's with only 11 dog kennels and 9 cat cages. Unfortunately, this year, we cannot keep up with the demand from the public as far as owner surrenders. Mr. Jenkins, I'm just fully aware of one that I'm dealing with now. It's just people can't keep up with the cost of vet care and taking care of their animals with feed and everything like that. We just can't keep up with the public demand. This year, with the number of 524, we've actually had a euthanasia rate of 19%. Of that 19%, 70% of that had to be put down for space. So when you kind of think of that and then all the ones we've turned away, that's why I implore you guys to please vote, yes for the animal shelter, because we desperately need it. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Good evening, board. As y'all know, most of the time I'm up here is talking about emergency services, something I'm very passionate about. There's 2 projects on there in front of y'all. One is the air, I'm gonna call it the air van replacement because that's currently what we have now. Sarah will tell you from the day she learned anything about fire and EMS in Prince Edward County, it's always broken. It's at Lou's station. Lou can tell you, you don't know if it's gonna run or if it's not gonna run. It may run when you start it and it may not run when you get there. It's outdated. We replaced the air packs in the county now. That compressor system is not able to refill the bottles fully, so we're able to get a little bit of air in them if it's running. If not, we've got to go find a station somewhere, either in the county or nearby, to fill the bottles back up after a call, which just delays the in-service time for the fire departments to run to another call. The second item on the CIP for emergency services is a Knox box system. something that the county desperately needs to move into. Farmville already has it in place. It works great for them, accessing buildings where fire alarms or sprinkler alarms or whatever may go on. It's something that if we can get into that process, that we can go back and work with planning and zoning and the building official and actually get that as a requirement on new commercial buildings in the county. That way, everybody has access to sprinkler rooms, they have access to the buildings at nighttime. It's managed, it's controlled. Everything goes into the cloud, just like everything else in the world does already. And it'll be maintained so everybody knows who took key A out and used it at Lowe's, or who took the key and used it at Harbor Freight, and it tracks it all the way across. So very safe, very secure, but it keeps damage down. You know, you can have anything kind of haze a building up and set an alarm off, could be an aerosol can. We don't want to be busting doors down and taking businesses out of service for a couple of days while they get replaced. So that's why it's on there. That project will be very beneficial long-term for the community also. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
I do. The Knox Box project sounds like a fantastic idea. Where is this $80,000 going towards?
All right, so the security aspect of it is where all that money's going. So each vehicle has to be outfitted with a control box, basically, and it has a punch code on it. That way you can't take that key out without putting your individual code in. Then once you get the key out, you can't use the key unless you put your code into the key. So on the backside of it, on my computer system here at the courthouse, I'd be able to see that Harrison took out the key from engine 1 and he used it at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I could go back and say, okay, the call that was at 2 o'clock in the morning was at Harbor Freight, if there was a question. So each one of the apparatus needs that box. So any first line piece. So each department would get between 5 to 6 of those, and they're about $2,500 to $3,000 a piece. The backside of that funding is the software fee. And what I did was I made sure the software fee was covered for multiple years. That way we're not trying to go back every year and say, okay, let's update. If I lock it in now at today's price for 10 years, then I don't have to pay the increase over 10 years.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay. And now we go on to.
So we've got a motion on the floor, but I think there may be an
I move
interest
that we
to
table it to next month.
Okay.
The CIP,
Supervisor Emmett,
Yes.
Supervisor Townsend,
yes.
Supervisor Cooper Jones,
Yes.
Supervisor Jones,
Yes.
Supervisor Watson,
Yes.
Dr. Pride,
Yes.
Supervisor Dillon.
Just a comment before I say anything. In this 2027, being the animal shelter is in there, it's possible maybe to move this Worsham site back a year to 26 and ease up on that $8 million. We can
So-
look at numbers.
So let me say this. We have the funding right now to do Worsham. By the time we really get into the construction, it's going to be summer, fall, which actually, once you pass July, we're into 26. We're in 25 now. It'll probably be it's going to bleed into fiscal year 26 really before we get it done.
Yes.
Okay. And Supervisor Jenkins, yes. Okay.
We have next public hearing, Mr. Chair, is a request for and by the Dunnington Mansion Foundation for a rural events facility in the Rural Planned Community RPC zoning district to be reviewed pursuant to Section 2-700.3, permitted uses as part of a special use permit. Property is located on tax map number 51 AT, located at 971 Manor House Drive in Farmville, Virginia. Mr. Love.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the county received an application from the Dunnington Mansion Foundation to convert and use the existing mansion for a rural events facility. This public hearing tonight was properly advertised in the Farmville Herald. The Planning Commission held their advisory hearing on December 17th, where no one spoke in opposition. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval, forwarding this request to you all with potential conditions that staff had put together. At that meeting, there was one requested by the building official that there be an annual safety inspection by their engineer submitted to the building official's office. So we've got that incorporated in there. Again, this special use permit, if approved, would create a rural events facility of that existing mansion. County staff is of the opinion that this is consistent with this district. Originally, facility was intended to be renovated many years ago, and you'll see in the presentation by the applicant, who's here tonight, Dr. Beach, to be a facility, a conferencing and rural events facility. So this kind of brings us full circle, and it would come to full fruition. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have of me.
Have any questions?
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
I'm Heather Beach. I'm president of the Dunnington Mansion Foundation. We put together a short presentation for y'all to give you a little bit of background about our organization, and then the phases of the planning that we would like to do for the special use permit. And which one of these do I need to push? Down? Down is up, right? That's what you said. And I had issues with this last time. Let's see if I can get it to work. Other way? Any help? Point it this way.
Is it on?
Y'all have to help me with the technology.
Don't feel bad.
Don't feel bad.
Yeah, get me to go help.
Right. Let's see if it'll work now.
Here we go.
All right, here we go. We'll move on to the next one. All right, so we are a 501c3 nonprofit. We were incorporated in 2021. We now have 8 board members, and we have 2 missions. The first mission is to save the history of Poplar Hill, as it's locally known, or Dunnington Mansion, and the people who lived and worked there. We have an extensive website that does just that, and we commissioned a documentary last year that is out on YouTube telling the full history. The second goal would be to rehabilitate the mansion into a multi-use event and education center, with a focus on being financially stable, but yet have a community give-back portion of that as well. So I'm going to go through just quickly the historical significance of the Poplar Hill property. I found over the last 3.5 years that there are a lot of local people that don't even know that this place exists, nor the local history that is caught up in it. So all of these people that we're going to go through were property owners, starting with Richard Woodson. So that was all the way back to the original land grant from King George II. Fascinating fact is those original acres stayed intact until the property sold in 2000 to investors for the development of the golf course that is there now, and then a planned residential community that has not yet come to fruition 24 years later. So the next owner was Francis Watkins. So obviously, Committee of Safety, so we've got Revolutionary War history there. Founding trustee of Hampton-Sydney College, which a lot of people don't know that, and a charter trustee as well. He also served as deputy clerk of court, and then clerk of court for Prince Edward County. And that clerk's office was actually located at the original house that was on that site. So we go on to Henry Watkins, also a Hampton-Sydney graduate, prominent local pharmacist. Passes on to James D. Wood, also Hampton-Sydney graduate and a prominent tobacconist in this area. Then that passes to Frank Wood, who served as a circuit court judge in the local area before he moved to Texas. And on the golf course property, there is a historic cemetery that unfortunately is very difficult to get to, but several of the original owners are buried out there. Then it passes on to John Hughes Knight Jr., also Hampton-Sydney graduate, rose to the rank of captain in the Confederate Army. And the poignant part about him is he had a daughter named India who ended up marrying Walter Gray Dunnington. So he was prominent in this area as a tobacco baron, and his warehouses are still part of the downtown Farmville community. So Charlie's Waterfront Cafe and then the Greenfront Furniture are both located in Dunnington warehouses, which is actually a fantastic example of adaptive reuse for historic buildings. So in 1897, Mr. Dunnington did extensive renovations. If you go out and you look at the mansion from the golf course road, everything that you see is 1897. So you can't see the older portions of the house. And what was interesting is the family stories. Mr. Dunnington did all of this to entertain businessmen who were coming. They had a house in town. This was actually the summer home, technically. And so he did that, which brings it back to in 1897. It was sort of designed to be a business and event center even back then. So a little bit about the current situation. We do not currently own the property. We do have permission for the special use permit from the owners per the signatures on the applications that you guys have. Earlier this year, we initiated negotiations to acquire the mansion and 3 acres, started the special use application process, and then unfortunately, the investors that own this property now were approached by potential developers for the residential community, and the offer was revoked as of now, but we decided to go ahead with the special use permit because we have permission from these owners to do what we do out there. So we already do some eventing, and we'll go through that in just a minute. But we feel that the special use permit is transferable. So even if we do not acquire the property or we lose the property to investors, we still think that this special use is beneficial to whoever might end up with it. So our proposal, the activities have to be divided into 2 phases, so pre and post rehabilitation. So the pre-rehabilitation phase is where we are now. We do conduct historic tours now. We have private photography rentals. We also rent for the film and movie industry. So we've had 5 music videos filmed out there, 3 movies, and we have a 13-day movie shoot that is scheduled to come in March of this year. That's how the organization maintains our financial solvency. Okay, that's where this funding is going to. And hopefully to be put into rehabilitations if we can take ownership of the mansion eventually. So for now, this is really what the special use permit would be used for. These small events that are out there. If we wanted to add weddings in, that's really where the rural eventing part comes in. It sounds kind of odd, but what I've learned, especially over the last 2 years, as we become more popular outside of this community, is there is a niche market for what they call beauty and abandonment, or beauty and decay. We actually had an engagement photo shoot, a rental that came out there, and the engagement photos were sent there. So that's part of what pushed us to go for the special use permit so that we can expand those events. Also, as we go through these slides, the pictures that you're seeing are how the mansion used to look. This was taken when the Bolt family lived there, and so this is kind of giving you all an example of, in our phase 2, if we're able to rehabilitate it, what it might look like again on the inside, if we're able to put it back to how it used to be. So in phase 2 is assuming that we are able to get the funding to fully rehabilitate it and make it a public eventing center, and then we would expand those large weddings, conferences. Its location on the golf course makes it perfect. As we said before, that was the original intent for the development of the golf course and the place out there. That was supposed to be the conference center, restaurant, pro shop for the Current Manor Golf Club. Unfortunately, the golf course was built, but this ended up abandoned. So a couple project considerations, economic benefits. We're going to go through these. You guys probably already know this because we're not the first, rural event special use permit that you've gone through. There's increasing the property value, increased tax revenue. Tourism supports the local economy. We know that weddings is a really big part of Prince Edward County tourism right now and the town of Farmville. So this fits nicely into that. To give an idea of the number of events, phase 1, mostly just smaller events that we have per year with maybe 1 or 2 larger ones. Phase 2, we would up that basically to have multiple small events during the week and then 1 event on most of the weekends. Traffic considerations, so we have already gotten approval from VDOT up to 150 guest/cars per event. They stated that the impacts are anticipated to be minimal for what we're doing. as long as we stay to that limitation. Parking, all event traffic will be parked off the public roads. We already have permission to park on the adjacent property that Hampton Sydney owns, as well as the property that the mansion is on that's owned by the current owners. When we do our tours a couple times a year, this is bringing in 40 people per tour, so we're at probably 20-ish cars, 20 to 30 cars, depending on it, and we are able to park all of those off of the public road quite easily, with the ability to expand that to accommodate the 150 guests. Effects on the adjoining properties, minimal, especially presently. Basically, Hampton Sydney has 5 rental cottages that are out there on the property. There's the pro shop for the golf club, and then nobody else for acres and acres around us. Compatibility with adjoining properties, also excellent, because that's what this was designed for. Potential conditions, the board, yes, we read and agreed to all potential conditions that have been set forth by the county for this permit as well. And as Mr. Love said, what wasn't included in your packets is we did have the county building inspector come out. He did a walkthrough with me. We spent about an hour walking through. We showed him all of our safety considerations that are in place. There are parts of this mansion that are permanently blocked off, locked, screwed shut, so that the public can't accidentally end up in the places that are dangerous. We have signs, we have cordoned off, excuse me, places for that. He also listened to what our structural engineer had to say, which in the areas that we're actually accessing with the public, the structure is sound, the bones are good in that area. And then, of course, he made the recommendation that we have that re-reviewed annually to be sure that it's safe for the public to come in. We certainly don't want anybody injured or hurt in there. We have had quite a few statements of support from Preservation Virginia, the CEO there, all the way through Longwood. The Moat Museum is on board with us. You can find on our website, we have the full statements of support that can be accessed on our website if you want to read everything that's there. So we do have a lot of community support already in the area of what we're trying to do, save a historic structure and rehabilitate its use into the event center, which is what we're looking for the special use for. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all have.
What was the name of the documentary? I'm interested in.
I can say, yeah, there's a link on our Facebook page and the website. It didn't have like an actual title.
Okay.
Yes,
or
but
like
thank
a
you.
Production.
Yes, but if you would go to the website, dunningtonmansion.org, there's a link right on the front page to the documentary. Yes.
I've toured Dunnington. I did one of the tours, and I mean, it was very impressive. And
Did you feel that we did? I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to.
I really enjoyed it. And
Okay, good.
a couple of coworkers here, we all went together, and yeah, it was very enjoyable for us, and we gained a lot of knowledge on the tour about the mansion. So,
Mr. Chairman, public hearing has been properly advertised, and adjacent property owners have been notified, so we're ready for the public hearing.
Anybody want to speak?
Give them the bang.
So, anybody like to speak on this matter?
No one has signed
No
up.
one signed up,
No
so-
one signed up.
We done that. Okay.
I'll point out that the planning commission unanimously approved it. We have a pretty robust group in that body. And I move the Board of Supervisors approve the special use permit request by the Dunnington Mansion Foundation.
I'll second it.
Is that, and just support of clarification, Mr. Watson, does that include the conditions as recommended by the planning commission?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a vote on that now. Okay, Supervisor Emmett,
Yes.
Supervisor Townsend,
Yes.
Supervisor Cooper Jones,
Yes.
Supervisor Jones,
Yes.
Supervisor Watson,
Yes.
Supervisor Dr. Pride,
Yes.
Supervisor Gillum,
Yes.
and Supervisor Jenkins, yes. Okay, thank you, man. You done really good.
Mr. Chair, next item is item 22 is a proposed amendment to Chapter 70, that's the taxation section, of the county code regarding land use. The Commissioner of the Revenue met with myself and the county attorney to review the current county code regarding land use taxation. Currently, the code states an applicant or application shall be filed every 6 years. This matched the county's previous reassessment cycle of 6 years. Now that we have switched to a 4-year cycle, we are requesting the code be updated to require an initial filing every 4 years. In addition, we have indicated a $50 filing fee for the first parcel and $5 for each additional parcel. This is the current fee charged by the Commissioner of Revenue's office. We are simply outlining in the ordinance. In addition, we've requested the county implement a $10 late filing fee for the annual revalidations and move the filing date to October 31st from November 1st. Hopefully, the late filing fee will encourage folks to get their paperwork in on time. And checking with our neighboring jurisdictions, they charge similar fees. The Commissioner has indicated that we have about 291 properties that are currently in the land use program. And this year, we received a total of 3 new applications. And Crystal is here to answer any other questions that y'all may have, but the request would be to authorize the proposed amendment for a public hearing at the February meeting.
Anybody have any questions?
Just a quick question, Doug, is there a reason why that they have to reapply? If it's ever, I guess there's a question. If, take for instance, my land that's in it, why would I ever have to reapply unless I sold it?
So you're not necessarily reapplying. So the reason for that we're asking to have the ordinance updated for the annual is because a lot of times there are parcels that could or do come out of land use and our office is not notified. And when that happens, it generates rollback taxes and it you know, there is a potential for lost revenue for the county. So with the annual form that would go out, if it's, you know, submitted to our office on time, there's no late fee. But that is just letting us know that everything pertaining to your property is still the same.
So no charge on the annual revalidation?
Yes, there's no charge there. And then, you know, we've always, or the county.
But every 4 years, I would have to do another filing, which would cost me $50 plus $5 for each parcel, correct?
Yes, and that's the way the county is the Commissioner of Revenue's office has always done that. You know, we have looked up, you know, state code to try to make sure that everything was, you know, our T's were crossed, our I's were dotted as far as, you know, the code against, you know, the ordinance. And so, yeah, I mean, to reapply, I mean, I don't know that I really have a good answer for that. I always hate to say, well, that's because it's always been done, because that's what I'm trying to get away from and change. But for this, you know, that's just how it's always been done. And you know, I've done the groundwork, I've done some research to try to figure out more beneficial ways to be more productive, to be more organized. And I just think doing this annually is just you signing off that nothing has changed is going to help our office to be more organized and to be able to stay on top of who is actually in land use, who's not, and what has changed. Which
230 of them, is that what it is?
291.
291.
Yeah. I mean, it's just easier for us to stay on top of the revenue, the rollback taxes, if need be.
And you'll be sending a bill out every 4 years for the $50?
Well, so I would be sending out a revalidation for every reassessment. So every 4 years, we would be sending out a revalidation. And at that time, that's when the taxpayer who's in the land use would have to pay the $50 for one parcel and $5 for each additional parcel.
It's kind of what I was.
Well, why you gotta pay?
Because everything costs. No, I mean, that's all you know, because, you know, it's it's generating revenue for the county.
And you're getting a break by paying that, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
The person paying the fee.
Yeah, you get-
Is getting a big concession.
Exactly. So it's a small fee for a beneficial discount. Because, well, right now, before this reassessment, it's, our land use was $700 per acre is what was received, is what somebody in land use would get.
And that's half to a third, maybe what the normal assessment might be on a piece of timber or farmland.
Exactly.
So to do paperwork, you gotta pay somebody to do it, you gotta pay somebody to put it in a computer.
I mean, yeah, you know,
Many
it's,
hours.
yeah. I mean, you know, like I said, you know, not to be funny, but you know, everything costs, everything's increasing, and it's just to stay on top of things, stay on track, and ensure that we are getting or the revenue that the county is owed.
Good reason why you came up with that thing to get rid of the mobile home.
Oh, yeah.
thing. I mean, that was,
Costs more than,
everything cost, and that was more trouble than it was worth.
That cost, like, we spent way more for that than we generated in 4 years. So that was extremely outdated, and I told Doug that was one of the things. I hadn't even won at this point, and I was like, if we have to get rid of this $2 mobile home sticker. So that was definitely, I had my eyes on that like from go. Because it was just, you know, it was not beneficial to the county. And it was not generating any revenue. It was a loss, if anything.
one more quick question, Doug. All of this will start with the new reassessment, so everybody will have to apply.
Everybody's gonna have to apply for that 4-year cycle. That's correct.
Correct.
Yes.
Any other questions?
It's just for a public hearing anyway.
Y'all can make change, you couldn't increase the cost, but you could decrease it if you so decide.
Is this for a public hearing, or is this?
Public hearing, I think.
Yes. It'd be authorized in public hearing at February's meeting.
I make a motion for the public hearing.
Second.
Okay. Roll call. Mr. Emmett?
Yes.
Mr. Townsend?
Yes.
Supervisor Cooper Jones?
Yes.
Supervisor Jones?
Yes.
Supervisor Watson?
Yes.
Dr. Pride?
Yes.
Supervisor Gillum?
Yes.
Supervisor Jenkins, yes. Okay, we're moving on to Ms. Sherrill.
Okay, well, thank y'all so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal.
Good evening, members of the board.
Good evening.
First item is authorizing a public hearing for the elementary school renovation appropriation. We're asking you to authorize a public hearing to draw down funds from the VPSA School Financing Bond Series 2024B to pay for current expenditures for the elementary school renovation project that exceed the funding currently available in the county's FY25 budget. For this transaction to take place, the board will have to authorize a public hearing to amend the FY25 county and school budgets by the amount of $15,405,000 and then appropriate the same funds. Per section 15.2-2507 of the Code of Virginia, a locality may amend its budget during the fiscal year. However, if such an amendment exceeds the currently adopted expenditures by 1% or more, then the locality must advertise the amendment at least 7 days prior to the public hearing. And of course, what we're asking for exceeds our budget. So there is no cost other than to publish the public hearing notice.
So moved.
Second.
Supervisor Gillum?
Yes.
Supervisor Dr. Pride?
Yes.
Supervisor Watson?
Yes.
Supervisor Jones? Supervisor Cooper Jones?
Yes.
Supervisor Townsend?
Yes.
Supervisor Emmett?
Yes.
Supervisor Jenkins, yes.
Thank you. Next item is FY25 school appropriations. The Board of Supervisors has received a request from the Prince Edward County School Board to appropriate state funds totaling $408,500 from a school-based mental health grant and a school security equipment grant to the instruction budget line described below. There's a local match of $62,500 for the school security equipment grant required for this appropriation. The local match will be absorbed in the school operating budget.
So this is already appropriate, is that correct? I mean, let me rephrase that. This is already there, it just needs to be appropriate, is that correct?
That is correct.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Supervisor Emmett?
Yes.
Supervisor Townsend? Yes. Supervisor Cooper Jones?
Yes.
Supervisor Jones?
Yeah.
Supervisor Watson?
Yes.
Supervisor Dr. Pride?
Yes.
Supervisor Gillum?
Yes.
Supervisor Jenkins, yes.
And the last item I have for you is reformatting and indexing grant for the clerk's office. The clerk of the circuit court has received a reformatting indexing grant in the amount of $29,990 from the Library of Virginia Circuit Court Records Preservation Program. These grant funds will be used to digitize and upload D-books 1 through 47 for online searches and remotely by SRA subscribers. The project is being completed by C.W. Warthen and was completed December of 2024.
So moved. Second, whatever. Supervisor Gillum?
Yes.
Supervisor Dr. Pride?
Yes.
Supervisor Watson?
Yes.
Supervisor Jones?
Yes.
Supervisor Cooper Jones?
Yes.
Supervisor Townsend?
Yes.
Supervisor Emmett?
Yes.
And Supervisor Jenkins, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we have the county attorney's report.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good to see everyone. I guess part of it, you've heard that we worked on the ordinance there. And I guess the other big thing that we handled this month was the boundary survey with Prince Edward County and Nottoway County. We were able to get that document recorded, and I have not gotten an update from Nottoway, but Nottoway approved it. County attorney was taking it to be recorded. I haven't confirmed there that they have recorded it. But anyway, the boundary line survey is recorded between Prince Edward and Nottoway. So
They gonna help pay for it?
We're going to send an invoice for the other half.
we'll work on that, okay?
Send them a bill.
Right. Anyway, and we also just recently met with the Planning Commission for their Conflict of Interest and Freedom of Information, a little mini session there with two members of the Planning Commission. Anyway, we've had some meetings with Conflict of Interest and Freedom of Information Acts on various things. And anyway, anybody have any questions, concerns? Yes, sir.
I saw just briefly the line. Is it completely straight or has it got one little crook in it?
It is completely straight now the way it was originally laid out. There,
Right.
it goes from a point on the Appomattox to a point on the Nottoway River.
Right.
It's Snails Creek, and there's
Picture I
no,
saw,
there's
it
no,
was skewed a little bit and I got to wondering, wait a minute, this ain't what we were talking about.
We ever thought to send the people who live in those properties a welcome packet?
we are going to have a community meeting here in the next couple months to have Crystal there, to have the sheriff there, to welcome them, but also let them know who they now need to deal with. And we'll have the folks from Nottoway there that'll be gaining folks as well. So, and we'll invite members of the board if y'all would like to attend as well. But that's the plan. We're just trying to get it recorded and now get through a little bit of this winter weather before we pull the trigger on that.
I think there were 36 parcels, 36, 39, somewhere in there. Because in Nottoway County, you don't need a cover sheet to record an agreement or a plat. In Prince Edward, you do, and you have to list each individual tax map and the address. We just had to put, what town or whatever they were in. But anyway,
Acreage kind of came as a trade-off, didn't it?
it was pretty close, pretty close. That's the,
Zero.
It was like 28, we may have lost 20 acres, but, yeah.
How many residents did we pick up?
We actually lost a few. We lost a few to a handful to Amelia, because the jog that Supervisor Gilman was talking about was up there near Scuffletown at the intersection, and Sailors Creek and Scuffletown shifted over a little bit. There's a few houses up there, and we lost, what's the dead-end road in between 460?
Cedar, I think Cedar Point.
Cedar Point? Cedar Point.
Yeah.
We lost a few. Yeah, we lost
Lost
some.
a few, yeah.
Yeah.
anyway.
Thank you, ma'am.
All righty, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Stanley?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, a few items. One, happy news, the Virginia Business has named Prince Edward County one of the 2025 best places to work in Prince Edward County. There were two parts used to determine the rankings. The first consisted of evaluating each nominated company's workplace policies, practices, and demographics. And then the second part was an employee survey. So they emailed all of our employees.
To be clear, that is to work for Prince Edward County, not to live in Prince Edward County.
That's
and have a
correct.
job.
That's right.
Correct.
That's correct. And I believe I believe Davenport was one of the other businesses on the list. I'll bet a little bit larger than us, but on the list. But we were the only locality in Virginia that was listed. And I want to give a special thanks to Crystal Baker for working with them to make this recognition happen. It's nice to be recognized for what you already know to be the truth, but to have a third-party outfit validated, it's refreshing. And we're working on trying to get a press release out on that here in the next few days. General reassessment notices have been delayed until probably the last week of the month. Is that fair, Sarah? We are still on scheduling. The board asked for an extension for the hearing dates. So I don't have any additional details until we get the final numbers and stuff in, but we'll share that with you once we have that in hand. I want to thank the CRC. They helped submit a grant pre-application to the Virginia Food Access Investment Fund through the Department of Ag to support the purchase of essential equipment for the Five Pillars Meat Facility. They are requesting a $50,000 grant to purchase essential equipment, including a power vacuum machine and a packing table. Total cost of the equipment is $65,000, with $15,000 coming from as a cash match by Five Pillars. So thank Lauren and staff there for helping us out. On January 8th, staff submitted a grant for the HIP Park to the Business Ready Sites Program in the amount of $12,360,000 to support infrastructure for the park, including water line and water tank construction to connect with the town system. Comprehensive plan update. The county's comp plan is nearing completion. Early in the process, a variety of public engagement events were conducted to gather community input, including an online survey, 2 community workshops, and 6 focus groups. And using that input, all the chapters of the draft comp plan have been drafted, with the land use plan chapter currently in its final stages. As you know, the board and Planning Commission, we talked about the land use section. They went in, and I'll say they kind of beefed up the section that deals with solar to, I'll say, more limited. In particular, some of the items, facilities should be located within a mile of the existing transmission corridor. Siting facilities should be at least 1 mile away from the Sandy River Reservoir and Appomattox River. Facilities shall be screened from major highway corridors and scenic byways. Prefer that all facilities be sited away from or completely screened from view of natural, cultural, and historic resources. Facilities shall be sited away from densely populated residential areas, located a mile away from any town boundary. Should avoid development areas with Class 4 or Class 5 agricultural suitability and areas actively farmed unless they will continue to be farmed. Located minimum distance of 2 miles should be provided between utility scale energy facilities of the same type, to maintain wildlife corridors and promote education to local emergency services on best management practices and fire suppression. I don't know if the board is comfortable with that language and moving forward to the next phase of public, or if you want to sit back down with the planning commission, but you don't have to give me an answer tonight. But, if you get a chance, I sent you a copy of that draft chapter. If you take a look at it, and just let me know if, we're comfortable at moving forward, or if y'all want to, I'll say, punt and have another work session and talk about it further. But I think definitely Robbie would agree the language is a lot stronger certainly than what we have in the comp plan right now. Once all the chapters are finalized by the board and planning commission, an open house will be held, which will be advertised. The event will be an opportunity for the public to review and comment on the draft plan. All comments collected during the open house will be shared with the board and planning commission during a final joint work session. Following the incorporation of any desired edits in the open house and joint work session, the comp plan will proceed to the final stage of the update process. The draft plan will be presented during a public hearing before the planning commission, who will then make a recommendation to the board, and then the board will hold a second public hearing before making a final decision on acting on the plan. So that's where we stand with that. We've got a couple upcoming engagement opportunities. The Mehuron Fire Department's been moved to March 8th, Prospect to January 18th at 6 p.m. We have a joint meeting with Town Council at 5 o'clock this coming Thursday. We've got a 4:30 ribbon cutting at the Visitor Center right beforehand. VACO's Legislative Day is coming up on the 23rd. And I think tentatively, we've got a Wawa grand opening on February 20th. So keep your fingers crossed on that. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman, unless there are any questions. And its contractors completed work on the access road for Prince Edward County Business Park. The county had been working on the project for a number of years to develop an internal access road through the business park off Commerce Road, Route 628. At the time, the board approved the award of the construction to J.R. Caskey. And on July 18th, 2022, on July 18th, at that time, we were in danger of losing our Tobacco Commission grant dollars. So the road was necessary to gain access to 100-plus acres of land within the business park that were landlocked. Construction included 1,500 feet of road built to state standards for acceptance into the VDOT system, and also a water line. The $2.8 million project was funded through a combination of Tobacco Commission and VDOT grants, which represented about 50% of the total cost. Attached in your packet are two resolutions, and I will say there is a slightly revised stormwater one that's on your dais that our engineer had marked up. But basically, we need a resolution for county acceptance and maintenance of stormwater management facilities to the project, and a resolution of street acceptance. If you remember when Granite Falls was put in, there were four stormwater ponds associated with Granite Falls. Back then, VDOT would take those stormwater structures in and maintain them. Now they don't do that. The county has to retain control of those. What we would want to do when we sell the properties in the industrial park is hopefully sell the maintenance along with that. Now, we currently maintain the stormwater structure behind Lowe's that's right there along Dominion Drive. And if you went by this year, Randy and his staff were out there. They bush hogged and trimmed up the pond and cleaned brush off the fence and stuff like that. But at this time, I would ask for the board to consider approving the two resolutions for stormwater management and street acceptance for the Business Park Industrial Access Road.
Okay, you have a motion? Supervisor Emmett?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay. Supervisor Emmett?
Yes.
Yes. Supervisor Townsend?
Yes.
Supervisor Cooper Jones?
Yes.
Supervisor Jones?
Yeah.
Supervisor Hodgson?
Yes.
Supervisor Dr. Pratt?
Yes.
Supervisor Dillon?
Yes.
Supervisor Jenkins, yes.
Next formal item is on page 215, the last page of the addendum pack, is a motion to go into closed session. We've got two items there for consideration.
Mr. Emmett, you'd like to send us into closed session?
Give me one moment. Move the board, County I move Prince Edward County Board of Supervisors convene in closed session for discussion concerning the interest of prospective business and locating facilities in the Prince Edward County HIP Park where no previous public announcement has been made concerning this business pursuant to the exemption provided for in section 2.2-3711A5 of the Code of Virginia, and for consultation with the county attorney regarding discussion of zone ordinance violation pursuant to the exemption provided for in 2.2-3711A8 of the Code of Virginia.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
He second.
Okay. So let's have roll call. We will go with Supervisor Gillum,
Yes.
Dr. Pride,
Yes.
Supervisor Watson,
Yes.
Supervisor Jones,
Yes.
Supervisor Cooper Jones,
Yes.
Supervisor Townsend. Yes. Supervisor Emmett,
Yes.
and Supervisor Jenkins, yes.
Give me 1 second. Yes, I'm in the wrong. I asked for, yeah, let me go this direction first. I make a motion to return to open session.
Second.
Okay, we have first and a second. Do we do a vote?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Gillum?
Yes.
Dr. Pratt?
Yes.
Supervisor Watson?
Yes.
Supervisor Jones?
Yes.
Supervisor Cooper Jones?
Yes.
Supervisor Townsend?
Yes.
Supervisor Emmett?
Yes.
And Supervisor Jenkins, yes.
All right, we are now in open session, and I move, whereas the Prince Edward County Board of Supervisors convened in closed session meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote in accordance with the provision of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2 3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved, Prince Edward County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in closed meeting to which the certification resolution applies, and only such public matters as were identified in the motion convened in the closed session were heard, discussed, considered by the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you, sir. Can I now say we could?
We need a second.
Oh, okay.
Jerry got the second? You got it?
Roll call. Supervisor Emmett?
Yes.
Supervisor Townsend?
Yes.
Supervisor Cooper Jones?
Yes.
Supervisor Jones?
Yes.
Supervisor Watson?
Yes.
Dr. Pratt?
Yes.
Supervisor Jones?
Yes.
Supervisor Jenkins, yes.
Do we want to recess, Doug?
Yes, we're going to recess.
I make a motion to recess until Thursday at 5 o'clock with the town.
4:30 for the ribbon cut.
4:30 for the ribbon cutting.
And this
At
is
the
gonna be
visitor
where?
center.
Visitor Center.
It'll be free.
Brief.
I second it.
And our meeting again is at the town, not here.
Visitor Center.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's in the town EOC on the.
Full
Second
Second
floor, behind council chambers.
And where is our meeting gonna be?
One more, I guess we need a vote on that too.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Jerry?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Yes.
Supervisor Jones?
Yes.
Dr. Pratt?
Yes.
Supervisor Emmett?
Yes.
Supervisor Jenkins, yes.